now that everyone else has preached my message for me, I almost forgot the password on my own stuff. So before we get kick started into the message, we do have a member of our body. She is not here at the moment. She did call in and say that she would like some prayer over her body. She's having some physical issues. So we're going to take a moment, just a quick moment, to declare some things. Because that's kind of what we do, right? If the church ain't going to declare and pray for folks, kind of missing some of its purpose. So we're going to take a moment. Miss Lisa, we know what the word says. We know that there's authority. We know all you got to do is speak it and believe it, and it will be. We declare that you are healed. We declare that you are whole and you are healthy. And that whatever is going on, be cast out. Can't come back. It can't come back. In Jesus' name, amen. See, prayer doesn't have to be a big, lengthy thing. I'm not big on flowery words. But it's the purpose of the words. And with that, gets into the message of the mindset. See, Pastor was all over it this morning. What's your mindset? Why is your mindset? What you doing with it? What are you letting it do to you? Now, God's been beating me up about this one a lot lately. And I say it beat me up because work has been frustrating lately. And it became work. It was no longer worship. It was no longer ministry. It was work. And I was letting it take me places I didn't need to go. And so this is what God's been ministering to me. Get your mind right. Now, in the military, get your mind right applies to a lot of different things, most of which you didn't really want to be a part of. But it applies to so much more. Pastor was talking about the armor of God last Sunday. That's kind of what kicked it off. Because your mind is a part of your armor. Now, what do you need armor for? Right? To protect yourself. Right? Because you're not going to put on armor and just walk around the street. Why would you do that? You're going to put it on because you know something's fitting to come after you. You're going to put it on with a purpose. And the last part of that armor is praying always. It means getting your mind right. Because it's real hard to say something without thinking about that something. Now, a lot of people, and I say a lot of people, I know I used to be one of these people, so I'm going to say a lot of people and hope it's not just me, have a tendency to show up to things, whether it be church, whether it be work, whether it be listening to the radio, and just hear it as wah 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 wah, like Charlie Brown's teacher. You know why it's like that? Because you're not paying attention.
Come on, sir.
Your mind's not in it. You're not listening. You don't care. It doesn't matter.
Come on. It's good right there.
If you show up to church and that's what you're hearing, is that wah 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 wah? If you hear people pray and that's what you're hearing, is that wah 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 wah? It has no power. It does nothing for you. You might as well stay home. Might as well turn it off. How do we get out of that? How do you step away, take a moment, and be like, no, this isn't. First, you got to recognize it.
Yes, that's right.
First, you got to realize that what's going on is the wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
And then you got to do something.
That's right.
You got to do something with a purpose.
That's right.
The Bible tells you what to do. It's amazing how that works out, isn't it? If you need an answer and it's not in the Bible, it's probably not a question, one, you should be asking, or two, you really need an answer for. So let's turn to, we're going to start with the things that you shouldn't really be focusing on.
Okay.
Because the Bible tells you that part too.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you just what you need to do. It gives you a heads up on, hey, if this is what's going on, you might want to pay attention. You might want to start fixing some stuff. So Romans 8, we're going to do 5 through 6. But if you continue on through Romans 8, it will tell you very specifically on what not to think about. So Romans 8:5. For those who live according to the flesh, set their minds on the things of the flesh. Right? So if you're thinking about doing all those not so intelligent, not so good things, you're probably going to end up doing some of those things. You may resist a few of them, like, nah, that's a little too far. But there'll be some of them that slip in and get you to do them. And then a few more, and then a few more. But those who live according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death. See, he tells you right there, straight up. If you keep thinking this way, things ain't going to end pretty. It's not going to go the way you want it to go in the end.
Yep.
But to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
Come on.
See, you don't just get one, you get a second thing. God doesn't do an equal transaction.
Wow. Come on.
You notice that?
Yeah.
Every promise he gives you, it's if you do this, I give you this.
Yeah.
It's not just a little bit. It's not an equal transaction.
Wow. That's good.
God said if you're carnally minded, you're going to die. But if you're spiritually minded, you get life and peace.
Come on. Yes.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but peace is an important thing in this life.
Yes.
And it extends to more than just peace in the natural.
Right.
There's peace of mind, which is important. Because I know a lot of folks tend to worry about some stuff. A lot of folks tend to be concerned about what's going on, have some fear floating around. And I know that there's a lot of people that try to talk fear, whether you want them to or not. Try to get you to listen to it. Peace wipes all that out. Takes care of all of that. And then again, if you keep going down through Romans 8 there, it's going to tell you exactly what not to be thinking about. I'm not going to go into it at the moment because it's a pretty extensive list. But why? So God tells us what not to think about. Does he tell us what to think about? Of course he does. Because that's kind of what God does. Where'd it go? Philippians 4:8. Most of us should know this one by now. This is one of those scriptures that should be stickered on your mind, on the back of your eyelids, because it's an important one. Granted, they're all important ones, but finally, brethren, whatever things are true. Now, how many things you come across in your day are not true? They try to pretend like they are. They try to tell you real hard that they are. Right? Like, oh, the economy's terrible. Well, is that true? Depends on how you look at it. My God's, exactly. Whose economy are you in?
That's right.
You in the world's economy or you in God's?
Yeah. Amen. That's good.
So whatever things are true, whatever things are noble. Now when it says noble here, it's not talking about princes and dukes and all that junk. It's talking about a character, a noble character. Do they serve a purpose? Is it more than just them or you or that thing standing right there? Is it going to produce something better than what it started with? That's what it means when it says whatever things are noble. Whatever things are just. and not just hanging around and not just in your hand. Whatever things have a purpose, whatever things are righteous and stand for something. Whatever things are pure. I don't even need to explain that one. Whatever things are lovely. Now, why would he say pure and then lovely? Well, you can have a pretty flower. It's lovely, but does that mean it's pure? Depends on the flower. You can look at a person. Person has all the right stuff going on the outside, but are they pure? Notice how he does still say lovely, right? Because that pure should shine through to the outside. You should be able to see it. It should be an obvious thing. So lovely isn't just how it looks. It's about what it exudes. Whatever things are of good report. Now, I work at a hospital. I talk to some doctors. There's a lot of not good reports floating around. But then I talk to some other doctors. And there's some good reports floating out. Which one you believe in? Which one you setting your mind on? Which one are you letting in and stick around? If there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. And that word meditate, it's a fun word. It doesn't mean sit down and cross your legs and doesn't mean all that. I mean, if that's what it takes to get you to think real deep about it, then do what you got to do, I guess. But it means think about it. Put it in your mind. Keep it there. Let it stay. Don't just kick it out. Because the world's going to throw a lot of things at your brain to try to flood it and wash out what's supposed to be there. You have to fight against the current on a lot of that stuff. So now that you know what not to think, now that you know what to think, how do you apply it? Right? Because God's not just going to say, do this, don't do this, but do this, and then not be like, okay, now that you're starting to do this, this is what you're going to see happening. This is how you stick to it. God will never just leave you hanging. He's never going to tell you to do something and then not give you instructions on how to fill it out. Well, that's how we get back to that armor of God, right? Because you're wearing that armor. Armor is designed to keep things from coming in. Well, if things can't come in, things can't go out, except for what you allow, right? So if you have the right mindset and you have that armor on, the only thing coming out is what you allow. And the only thing going in is what you allow. Now, armor is an interesting thing. And whenever I picture armor, I picture two different kinds. And I'm a history nerd, for those of you that haven't figured it out yet. So I see a medieval knight on one side, right? Decked out in his kit, and it was called a kit, by the way. It was actually what it was called. It was called a kit. Decked out in his kit. Full plate helmet. Got the little slots so you can kind of see through it. If you notice, they didn't ever have ear holes. There's a reason for that. Ear's a sensitive part, and it isn't really necessary to hear what's going on too much around you. But it's important to see. Then if you also notice, most of the visors, not all of them, but most of them, lifted up. Why'd they lift up? How is she going to talk? You ever tried to talk with a mask on? And you're, I know we're all familiar with that these days. You get that, hey, how's it going? What's going on? You know, hey. Imagine that with a metal plate there. So you had to talk. So you had to actually do something with the armor to be able to let something out. And then he's got his No, his breastplate on. Well, his breastplate doesn't just cover the center section, right? It extends a little bit. It covers the arms, got some shoulder pauldrons on, and he's got some greaves that cover the legs. More often than not, just the front. And there's a purpose behind that. There's a purpose behind just covering the front. Why is that? Why would you do that? One, it's easier to move, meaning you got somewhere to go. You're not going to put it on and just stand there. It does nobody any good. But also, you don't have to worry about somebody coming behind you because you're not alone. There are others standing with you to cover that for you. So when you come decked out in your kit, you're standing in line, you're not alone. There are others decked out in their kit coming to stand beside you. Because war is not a one-person job. There is no war that has ever been waged by just one person. Never happened. It's always been a multitude. And I say a multitude because it's not just 1, 2, 5, 10, 50. It's hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. It's a multitude. So when you stand with your kit, your armor of God, and you start taking those steps, you start walking, first you line up, and I'm going to use military terms again. First you line up with your squad, those immediately around you, 5 to 6-ish people. Then your squad lines up with your platoon, those in your house, right? Those in your body, those you're directly connected with, 20 to 50 people. Then your platoon marches up to your company. Now you're getting bigger and bigger, right? Your company is who your platoon is attached to. It's who you do most of your other things with. Now we're talking 200 to 300. Then your company lines up with your battalion. The battalion has multiple companies in it. What are they doing? They're marching forward. They're doing something. They're getting together not just to do some handshakes and talk, although cars may be pulled out at some point or another. But they're still doing a purpose. They're still there for a purpose. Then your battalion is attached to a brigade. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you get your kit and you walk forward, the first group you meet is those directly in line with you. Do you know who those people are? There should be more than one. There should at least be one, if not more. Are you connected to people, to the people around you in a way that they know everything about you? Because that squad, we did everything together. Everything together. Went to the field. We slept in the same tent. We slept on the ground. We dug the foxhole together. We did everything together. Dig the latrine pit, everything. Those are the people that know you best. Of those people, not everyone had your back. People are peopling, right? People are peopling. You can't be friends with everybody. You can love everybody. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to be friends with them. Learn that one the hard way. But those that are in your squad, do you have that connection? Do they have that connection with you? Because it's a two-way street. It's not just, I'm here, we're connected, whether you like it or not. Well, okay, that might work a little bit in the beginning, but you're not going to get very far with that. It needs to be a two-way street. Same thing with God, by the way. It's a two-way street. He's going to talk to you. Are you going to talk back? That was the other part. You can talk to him, but are you going to take a stop and listen?
Amen.
That's the one I got beat up on, by the way. I forgot to stop and listen. Got so caught up in what was going on.
Wow, come on.
Started talking, saying the right things, thinking most of the right things, but not stopping to listen for those answers. And not all the answers are immediate, right? The Bible Bible tells us it took 21 days to get an answer at one point.
Yes.
Now, we're a microwave generation. We like it all instant, right now.
Yeah.
I can make a change on my phone, see it on my tablet. Just like that. Well, God will answer you in His time. And it's not always that He's the one holding the word back.
Right.
At 21 days we were talking about, the angel bringing the answer back had to go through some stuff.
Yeah.
Your angel will get there. The answer will come. The enemy's going to try to stop it, though.
Come on, sir.
So be patient. Goes back to that mindset. Perseverance is part of that mindset.
Come on.
If you noticed, all those that we talked about, so far, they've all had a common theme, right? From the squad, to the platoon, to the company, they all have things that denote they're all together. Because in the platoon, it's 1st Platoon, Charlie Company. Charlie Company is going to say, Charlie Company, 1st Brigade. 1st Brigade is going to say, 1st Brigade, 2nd Battalion. 2nd Battalion is going to say, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Corps. They're all going to have an attachment to their one-up.
Wow.
They're all going to have an attachment to their one-up.
That's good.
Gloryland McGregor is attached to JLMI.
Come on.
JLMI is attached to, and I always mess it up, Fivefold Ministries International. Yeah, we'll go with that. There's an attachment. There's a one-up.
Yes.
You are not alone.
Amen. So good.
The other part of that is, are you an active member?
Come on.
Sure, we come, we sit, we listen, or do we hear the wah, 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 wah?
Come on now.
If you're in your training, if it's your training time and that's what you hear, wah, 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 I promise you, if I did that in the military, I'd be finding some boots coming at me at some point or another. And not in a pleasant place.
Come on.
Because that training gets you right, gets your mind right. It puts you in that place where you can protect that someone else.
Yes. That's so good.
It's went a different direction than I was thinking about, but that's okay.
So good.
So that guy, the full armor medieval kit, and the other one I see is the modern, right? And there's a lot of similarities that you're not expecting. Because guess what? He still wears a helmet.
Yeah.
He still wears a breastplate. Different design,
Right.
same function. He still has a belt on.
Yeah.
He still has his boots on. He even carries a shield at times. Notice how those things that are very specific in the Bible are still used to this day
Wow.
by the world. There's a reason they're still sticking around. Because those pieces are important,
Yes.
right?
Amen.
So when you grab your kit, when you start to put it on, it serves a purpose. Are you thinking about that purpose?
Wow.
Is your mind on that purpose? Like, sure, I can grab a helmet and stick it on my head, but if I don't put the chin strap on, it's just going to come flying off. So if I don't acknowledge its purpose, its use, it doesn't do me any good.
Come on, sir.
If I stick my chin out while I'm wearing my helmet instead of put my head down a little bit, it's going to make a big difference on where the hit comes from.
Yeah.
If I put my breastplate on, but I don't put it on all the way and it's just kind of flapping open, doesn't do me much good. If I put my boots on, but I forgot to lace them up, forgot to tie them tight, you're not going very far because your feet are going to get real sore real quick. Everything has a purpose. And it all ties back to your mindset. If your mind's not on those things, if you're not thinking about the peace, then you're not going to apply the peace. If you're not thinking about salvation, you're not going to apply salvation. If you're not thinking about faith, you're not going to swing that shield out. If you're not thinking about the word, you're not going to use it.
So good.
Now, the word comes up as a sword in the armor of God. Now, what do you do with a sword? Sword's an interesting piece, right? Because it's not just a defensive thing like everything else in the armor set,
Right.
but it's an important part of the kit.
Yeah.
It can be used for defense. A sword can you block, parry, help dodge, but it's more for attack.
Come on.
Now, if you're just wandering through your day to day, taking some hits because you got your armor on and you're good, what's the use if you're not fighting back?
Come on.
If you're just walking around like, yeah, I got this, I'm good,
Yeah.
ding, 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 but not fighting back, does it serve a purpose?
Come on.
Now, your sword is the word.
That's right.
What good is a word if you don't speak it,
Yeah. Come on now.
right?
Yeah.
It's another thing you have to do something with. It's also another thing you have to put a lot of training in.
Yeah.
A sword is not a simple weapon. It takes years and years and years of training. Back when swords first started becoming a big thing, they were a sign of nobility. Because one, not everybody could afford one.
Yeah.
And two, they were difficult to use. Your sword as the word is not easy to use. It's not easy to put into practice like that. Why? Because your mouth is going to try to say all kinds of craziness. I think we're all guilty of that, just a little bit. I wasn't calling anyone out. So you have to train it.
That's right.
You have to train your mouth. Well, how do you train your mouth? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yes.
So what's in your heart?
Yeah.
Well, what's going to be in your heart is what's going to be what your mind's set on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I know that there have been a lot of people who have planted seeds in my heart. Some good, some not so good. Now, my mindset is what dictates what's going to grow. Am I going to focus? Am I going to feed those things that have been planted that have been good? Trying. Am I going to focus and feed those weeds that someone planted? That's actually real easy. It's almost too easy to do that versus fight off the weeds.
Yeah.
How many people got gardens? Almost. What's easier to grow? Let the weeds come in and take over, or to keep them out,
Yeah.
keep your little area clean.
Yeah. That's good.
That's real hard.
Yeah.
They're real hard. Takes some work. Takes some doing. Takes some focus and time. Time, yes, time. Thank you, Pastor. That's a good one. Time. Are you putting time into your training?
Yeah. That's good.
Sure, I show up on a Sunday morning, Sunday evening when they have it. But am I there for training? Or am I just wah, 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 wah?
Wow.
Or am I taking that training I got, and when I go home, am I looking at it? Am I going over it? Am I focusing on it? Am I training a little deeper? How many of us ever had homework from school? Yeah? Why do you think they gave us homework? It's because they didn't want you to have a life, so you could go hang out with your friends on the weekend or after school? Or is it because they wanted you to get that little extra training in?
That's good.
Now, church doesn't always give out homework. I say it doesn't always because we have been given homework from time to time.
That's right. That's true.
And I'm going to give you some homework.
Come on. Yeah. Good.
Y'all ready for your homework?
Yes.
Now, when you walk out these doors, we don't have a service this evening, so please enjoy your time with your family.
Amen.
But while you do that, take a second, take a moment, and analyze what you're thinking about.
Come on.
That's it. That's all the homework is. You just take a moment every day to analyze what you're thinking about. In the middle of whatever's going on, whether it be a board meeting, and yes, they call them board meetings because they're boring. A board member told me that one, by the way, just throwing that out there. It doesn't matter what's going on. Again, when you're at that meeting, while you're on the Zoom call, while you're walking around wherever it is you work or whatever it is you do on a daily basis, take a moment and analyze what's going through your brain on purpose. Do it with a purpose. Because there are times when we do it, right? You're like, why am I thinking about going over there when I need to go over here? Right? We do that on a pretty regular basis, I hope. But when you analyze it, okay, what's that going to produce? What's the purpose of that thought? What's the purpose of that thought? Is it going to line up with the Word? And is it going to produce what needs to be produced? Or is it going to lead me or someone else in a different direction? That's your homework for this week.
Amen.
Take a moment every day to analyze. Doesn't have to take a while. And once you start doing it, you'll catch yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second, why was I even thinking about that? Where did that come from?
So good.
Those are the thoughts we need to catch. So sneaky little, oh, I heard it in passing by the TV that was playing things. But they chuck that seed in, hoping to get past your armor.
So good.
And it's small enough, you don't pay attention at first.
Right.
So it gets in there. Well, that's why you got to take a moment and catch it. Think about it and get rid of it.
Amen.
Because just because you know it's there doesn't mean it's okay for it to hang around.
That's right.
You got to do something with it after that.
Amen.
You got to get rid of it. This went an interesting direction that I wasn't expecting, but that's okay. Where is, right. And one more thing, just to cheer everybody up just a little bit. Now that you have your homework, there's a reason you have homework. Turn to Isaiah 26 and 3. Everybody there? This one I want you to look at. Because you will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you.
Amen. Yes.
Now, who's the he he's talking about here? Talking about God, talking about Christ. God trusts you. I'm going to say that one more again. God trusts you. Why is that important? Well, how many people have doubted themselves being good enough? Would God trust somebody who's not good enough? Oh, well, I'm just the lowly IT guy over there. I'm not important. Would God trust somebody who's not important? Oh, well, I don't read the Bible like I should. Would God trust someone who isn't doing what he needs, what he has planned for you? You may not be 100% accurate. I'm not gonna lie. We miss it from time to time. But God still trusts you, even though you miss it. And that's important to remember. Because even though you missed it, there's still more going forward. He still trusts you. Or are you going to trust him back? Also, within there, you'll notice he does the more than one thing. It's more than just about trust. He's keeping you in perfect peace as you keep your mind on him. Not only do you have his trust, you also have his peace. So while you keep your mind on him, you will be at peace and he will trust you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when you trust someone, you're kind of a little harder on them, right? you kind of have a few extra tasks for them to do. That's why you have homework, by the way,
Yeah, come on.
because God trusts you.
Yeah,
There's a few extra tasks for you to do.
come on.
You're not allowed to just sit down in the corner and do nothing, even though we want to from time to time. But now that you know, He trusts you. Now that you got your mind thinking about these things, He got more stuff for you to do.
That's right.
And what are those things going to produce? Nobody? Everybody looking at me funny. What are those things going to produce? For the kingdom.
Glory
Glory
to Him.
to Him. Did I write it in here? I didn't write it in here.
Righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. Amen.
There you go. Who knows the song? You know the song. The Gifts of the Spirit. Charity could do it better. She's got a baby at the moment, so you're stuck. That's what they're going to produce.
Yeah, amen.
And it's not just in you.
That's right.
Because again, people are going to see it.
Yes.
It's going to stand out. People are going to see it as lovely. And once they get to realize it, they're going to see it as pure.
Come on.
Who is doing? Sorry, I didn't memorize who was doing what today. Tracy. Tracy is. Okay. So with that, Miss Tracy, it's your turn.